All right, we are back with David Kirkman and Seth Buffelli from AARP, talking all things scams and things of that nature to protect your personal information. All right, I think your Zoom is better, David. Let's talk about what we were talking about right before the break, those weird texts that we get from people that look like there's somebody trying to search for somebody else.
Yeah, I've gotten a couple of those, both on Facebook Messenger and in my regular cell phone. And they ask for somebody else, or they give some information somebody else supposedly needs, and then you reply to it. You say, no, that person isn't here, that they don't use this number, you got a wrong number. And they immediately respond by saying, oh, you're so kind for doing that, and you sound like a very nice person, you seem like a nice person. And they'll strike up a conversation with you. And this is just getting their foot in the door to these romance scams and other types of scams that we've been talking about. And they'll just race off with it and get you to do all these things that you really wouldn't do normally.
And I think sometimes people, when that happens to them by the phone, they just think, oh, that was just an honest, thing that happened. Or if someone comments on something that they posted on Instagram or something like that, they think, oh, that's just, they found it funny too. But it really just is a way for them to start talking to you and then try and make that relationship happen.
It really is.
And
it's very, very effective because it's so low key.
Right, it's so low key. You don't think that is like somebody that's a scammer. Okay, so Seth, let's talk about this. Someone says, are there any side hustle opportunities to make extra money on Facebook that are good and true?
Well, I don't want to say everything on social media that offers to give you extra money is not legitimate, but the vast majority of them aren't. And so that's one thing to understand. We've all had this with a friend or a family member whose account on one of these social media gets taken over, gets hacked by a criminal. The first thing that these crooks do is they go into your friends setting and they send out a message to all your friends. And it usually says something like, hey, I'm making a killing on cryptocurrency, or I got this great new side hustle, or did you know that we qualify for government grants? Here's a link and how to do it. And the reason that they're doing this is they're trying to impersonate the most trusted people you have, which is your friends and family who are in your Facebook community. So whenever you get one of those messages like that, just instantly be leery. Social media in general, I was looking at some numbers from the Federal Trade Commission. In 2022, people who encountered scams on social media, 61% of them lost money. That's many, many times more than people who got a scam text or a scam phone call or a scam email. It is so hard to tell the difference between fact and fiction on some of these social channels. These criminals create these slick looking ads for products that you've never heard of, but look too good to be true. And so you always just have to have an extra healthy dose of skepticism on anything you see on social media, especially if money's involved.
David, we just got a follow-up question. It says, but if I get a text, does it really do any harm to answer it if you don't give them information?
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to just respond politely, but just be aware that if this thing keeps continuing where it might be going, and it could be heading straight for a scam. Take a step back.
Yeah, they just want to get their foot in the door.
The other thing I always say to people, because some people like to be on the phone and mess with them, I always say, well, I hope you like being on the phone, because answering that call, engaging on that text message just means you're going to get a lot more, because the criminals know that you're willing to engage with them.
Yeah, got it.
And they start to clone your voice the more you speak to them on the phone. So if you're one of these people who wants to mess with the scammers, they're recording your voice. They're going to use AI to clone you and do all kinds of other scams using your actual voice.
Yeah, and none of us want that. All right, guys, we've got probably about like 2 minutes left or so. What would you tell people who say, well, I'm just embarrassed to tell anybody that this is going on?
Will never be that way. Just never be that way. And that's one good thing about my former colleagues at the Attorney General's office, especially in the elder fraud unit. They're very good at not being judgmental and assuaging your worries about embarrassment and getting down to what you can actually do about the problem. Because embarrassment is one of the tools that the scammers love. They love to find somebody who's embarrassed.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I think the other thing is just to understand, these are sophisticated criminals and they run like businesses, and what they do for a living is trick people out of their money. And so it's really not anything about you. They're experienced psychological manipulators, and maybe they just caught you on a bad day. And we actually have a helpline that's put in place. The number's 877-908-3360, and it's staffed by volunteers like Dave, and they help people who have been victims, who are embarrassed, who are afraid to tell their friends and family and just don't know where to turn. And for anybody that might be experiencing that, just know that there's help out there.
Okay,
That
say
you're
that number
not
one more
unique.
time right before we go.
Yeah, it's 877-908-3360.
Okay, and what we'll do, we'll put that in our web story as well. Gentlemen, thank you both very much for spending time and giving your expertise on all of this. If you missed any of this, we want to put it for you in an easy place for you to look at, the 2 Wants to Know section on WFMYnews2.com.